Today, I'm going to explain a war adventure movie called The Great Escape. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie begins in 1943 as a convoy of German vehicles, including several trucks, moves through the idyllic French countryside. The convoy soon reaches a newly constructed prison camp, and a whole host of captured Allied soldiers disembark from the trucks. By this point in the war, the Germans have spent enormous resources on recapturing Allied prisoners of war, or POWs. They have gathered a group of enemy POWs who have repeatedly escaped from camps across Nazi Germany. Now they have decided to put them in a new high-security prison war camp here in France. This group includes soldiers mostly from the British Army, some Canadians, a few Scots, and 3 Americans. A large group of Russian soldiers are also present here. After a while, the manager of this camp, Luftwaffe Colonel von Luger, calls the senior-most British officer, Captain Ramsey, for a chat. Von Luger has a pile of files with the details of the POWs who have tried to escape as many as 16 times, but he boldly says that there will be no escapes from his camp. Not only is his place highly guarded, but the Germans have also come up with rather unusual tactics to prevent anyone from running away. The captured soldiers are allowed to wear their uniforms with dignity and will be kept in comfortable huts in small groups. Von Luger also points out the various recreational features of the new camp, such as a library, sports field, and gardens. He hopes that Ramsey will cooperate so that both sides can sit out the brutal war in as much comfort as possible. The latter, however, says that it is the duty of a soldier to try to run away and create trouble for the enemy. Could have just played tennis and kept that one a secret, but alright. Outside, the captured Allied soldiers have already started eyeing the prison fences, searching for ways to escape. Some even try to test the camp's security by staging a fake fight. 2 Allied soldiers get into a punching match, forcing the prison guards to separate them. Taking advantage of this distraction, Australian flying officer Sedgwick and Polish pilot Danny mix in with the Russian group. Similarly, Scottish airman Archibald Ives gets into German trucks that are carrying garbage out of the camp. After the fake fight is sorted out, the Nazis begin moving the Russian POWs to a separate location. Sedgwick and Danny, now wearing Russian coats, are also on their way out of this camp. However, they are quickly noticed by von Luger, who seems to know each and every Allied soldier by face. The German colonel also finds Ives hiding in a garbage truck. All of them are sent back in with no further punishment because von Luger is eager to maintain peace in the camp. On the other hand, American Captain Virgil Hiltz has noticed a flaw in the camp's design. There is a blind spot between the 2 watchtowers that guard the fence, which separates the camp from a nearby forest. Hiltz has a baseball with him and throws it towards the blind spot. He then casually walks past a boundary wire and towards the spot where the ball is. To his delight, the German guards in the 2 watchtowers don't notice him. This proves his theory, and he fully plans to exploit this weakness. However, Hiltz learns a harsh lesson first. When a German guard on the ground rushes towards him, von Luger soon follows and tells everyone the most important rule of the camp. The wire which Hiltz had crossed on his way to the fence is called the Wire of Death. Anyone who crosses this will be immediately shot to death. No questions asked. But since this is the first day, Hiltz and Ives are sent to the cooler, which are isolation cells designed to break down stubborn soldiers. Next, Hiltz and Ives are put in adjacent isolation cells for a week, but when the Nazi guards go away, they begin to converse with one another. The American had noticed that the soil near the fence was looser than the one near the camp. This would mean that if they can reach the outer area, a tunnel can be dug underneath the fence and away from the camp. Ives, who is a specialist in tunneling, agrees to join Hiltz in this escape plan. Meanwhile, 2 Gestapo agents and an SS lieutenant bring British Royal Air Force squadron leader Roger Bartlett to the camp. Known as the Big X, Bartlett has been the ringleader for several escape attempts in the past. Soon he meets with his senior, Captain Ramsey, in the latter's hut. Bartlett realizes that several soldiers who had worked under him in the past are also here in this very camp. In fact, he is locked in with almost every escape artist in Germany. If they're all so good at this, why are they all in a prison? Thus, a meeting of the Allied soldiers is organized in the camp's recreational hall. Bartlett then tells everyone his audacious plan, the greatest escape ever attempted, with tunnels to break out 250 prisoners. He wants the Germans to waste as many troops and resources as possible, looking for escapees, rather than being used at the front line. For this, they will dig not 1, but 3 tunnels, named Tom, Dick, and Harry. It is to be known as Project Harry Dick Thomas. They will burrow a 30-foot hole under huts numbered 104, 105, and the rec hall. Then, from there, they will start digging horizontal tunnels all the way out of the camp and into the surrounding forest. If one tunnel is discovered, the others will still be there to keep the project alive. Following this, the POWs organize themselves into teams. Flight Lieutenant Hendley is the scrounger, who finds needed materials. Australian Flying Officer Sedgwick, the manufacturer, makes tools like picks for digging and bellows for pumping air into the tunnels. Flight Lieutenants Danny and Willie are the tunnel kings, in charge of the digging. Meanwhile, Commander Eric of the Royal Navy devises a method of spreading soil from the tunnels through the camp under the guards' noses. Flight Lieutenant Griffith acts as the tailor, creating civilian outfits from scavenged cloth. Forgery is handled by Flight Lieutenant Blythe, who becomes nearly blind due to progressive myopia caused by intricate work under candlelight. Fortunately, his close friend Hendley takes it upon himself to be Blythe's guide in the escape. The prisoners then begin working on 3 tunnels simultaneously. They also devise secretive ways of signaling when the German guards are around. Later that week, Captain Virgil Hiltz, now dubbed as the Cooler King, Lord of the Hairy Dick, and Archibald Ives comes out of solitary confinement. They have conceived a plan of escape through a short tunnel at the blind spot right near the edge of the camp. Captain Ramsey, who is aware of their plan, sets up a meeting between the two and Bartlett. The latter is worried that Hiltz and Ives' plans of escape may put the German guards on alert. This will only increase problems for the tunneling project that is currently in full swing. However, Hiltz refuses to back down, pointing out that his plan is effective and quick. Ives also says that he has been a POW for close to 3 years. He is now so fed up of being locked in that he is ready to jump the wire if it means getting back to his freedom. It is obvious that the Scottish soldier is close to his mental breaking point. Considering all the pros and cons, Bartlett allows Hiltz to go ahead with his plan that very night. Unfortunately, Hiltz and Ives are caught and promptly returned to the cooler for a staggering 20 days. The American seems to be doing okay, but Ives is slowly starting to lose his mental composure. On the other hand, the other escape project also runs into a major problem. They are digging 3 huge tunnels right under the camp. All the soil, gravel, and dirt from the tunnels are piling up with no place for them to throw. The soil from the tunnels is also dark due to the moisture, which is in contrast to the dry grayish soil on the grounds outside. If they throw the soil out, the German guards will quickly notice that something is wrong. Fortunately, Eric comes up with a brilliant plan to get rid of the dark dirt. He makes a contraption with deep pockets where the soil from the tunnel can be hidden. The soldiers will wear this contraption underneath their trousers. Then, they will head outside and slowly drop the soil onto the grounds. Other soldiers, pretending to be engaged in gardening, will rake in the darker soil with the ground's drier soil. The following day, the Allied soldiers begin to put this plan into action and are delighted to see it works like a charm. Von Luger, however, is suspicious as he sees several British soldiers suddenly interested in gardening.
I thought they said that was for pansies, yeah?
He inspects the garden area and casually digs up the soil with his boots, but the Allied soldiers have already raked in the darker, wetter soil with the ground soil, and Von Luger finds nothing. As days pass by, the escape plan goes ahead in full swing. The Allied soldiers work on making an air duct which will help them breathe while they are in the tunnel. They hide the sound of them working the metal by carefully choreographed choir singing. On the other hand, Handley, responsible for finding needed materials by hook or crook, tries to befriend a German guard named Werner. He offers the Nazi soldier a cigarette and strikes up a casual conversation. It is revealed that Werner is actually not too fond of all the hard work and brutal discipline in the German army. Handley lures him by showing him chocolate, butter, as well as other food that would be considered luxury in such harsh conditions. While the guard is distracted, Handley steals his purse, which contains a camp guard ID card, local train tickets, and several other important papers. These will now be used to forge documents so that the Allied soldiers can appear to be German citizens once they escape this camp. After a few weeks, Ives and Hilt are released from the cooler. The latter is immediately called by Bartlett for an important meeting where the two men have an intense conversation. Hiltz reveals that he still plans to go ahead with his escape plan. He thinks that having a smaller 2-man team assures the success of escaping more than having a large team, which is why he wants to work alone. But Bartlett points out the obstacles, including the fact that Ives is close to a mental breakdown. He nevertheless agrees to support Hiltz's plan so that he can escape the camp as well. As they continue to talk, Bartlett requests that Hiltz uses his next attempt as an opportunity for a reconnaissance of the area surrounding the camp. Hiltz turns down this request, but agrees to assist the prisoners to get whatever materials they need for the tunnels. Meanwhile, Werner finally realizes that he has lost his wallet somewhere in the camp. If his seniors find out about this carelessness, they will send him away to fight in the Russian front. Handley soon reveals that he has the wallet and starts blackmailing the guard to get hold of other items for the escape. That evening, Bartlett orders Dick and Harry to be shut down, as Tom is closest to completion. These soldiers may be into singing and gardening, but none of them want Harry Dick. A few days later, the 4th of July arrives, and the American soldiers organize a party. They brew potato moonshine with a homemade still and celebrate the Independence Day with the whole camp. While the POWs enjoy outside, von Luger does a surprise checking of the huts. He accidentally discovers Tom when one of the German guards sees that the tiles underneath a water heater are completely new. This devastates Ives so much that he loses his patience. He walks in a daze to the barbed wire that surrounds the camp and climbs it in view of the guards. Hiltz runs to stop him, but it is too late, and Ives is shot dead near the top of the fence. Following the harrowing incident, the Allied prisoners switch their efforts to Harry. Hiltz also agrees to Bartlett's earlier proposal and goes outside the camp just to be recaptured. He has, however, brought in precise data about the surrounding areas. This information is then used to create maps to guide the escapees. Slowly but surely, the last part of the tunnel is completed, and soon the night of the escape arrives. The prisoners get dressed in German-styled clothing, get their forged identity cards, and slip into the tunnel in pairs. Unfortunately, the end of the tunnel proves to be 20 feet short of the surrounding forest. Knowing there are no other options, Bartlett orders the escape to go ahead. Hiltz, who is the first man out of the tunnel, improvises a signal system using a rope to allow them to exit. He signals when the German guards on patrol are not looking, allowing others to sneak from the tunnel's opening to the forest. In the meantime, Danny, who has spent much of his time in the tunnel and has barely survived multiple cave-ins, begins to get claustrophobic at the last minute. He nearly refuses to go, but is helped along by his digging partner, Willie. One by one, 76 prisoners, including the main man, Captain Bartlett, manage to escape thanks to Hiltz's ingenious idea. Their plan is also helped when the Allied forces launch an impromptu air raid in a nearby town. However, a British soldier named Griffith impatiently exits the tunnel and is caught red-handed by the guards. All hell breaks loose, and those who can escape run away into the forest, while others are captured. After the haphazard escape, several POWs attempt to reach neutral nations like Switzerland, Sweden, or Spain. Hendley and Blythe steal a plane to fly over the Swiss border, but the engine fails and they're forced to crash land. Unfortunately for them, Nazi soldiers arrive at the spot shortly afterwards and shoot Blythe. Hendley is so deeply affected by his friend's death that he surrenders instead of running away. On the other hand, Captain Bartlett gets identified in a crowded railway station by Gestapo agent Kuhn. Eric, who is also present there, decides to sacrifice himself to save his senior officer. He grabs Kuhn's gun and shoots the German agent, but is also killed in return fire. The resulting confusion allows Bartlett to slip away from the station. However, he too is recognized and arrested by SS Lieutenant Steinach. Elsewhere, Hiltz steals a German motorcycle and is pursued by Nazi soldiers. The American somehow makes it to the German-Swiss border and drives on to the neutral zone, but he becomes entangled in the barbed wire fence and is eventually captured. In a few days' time, almost all the soldiers who escaped are recaptured or killed in the process. 3 truckloads of recaptured POWs are driven down a country road and split off in 3 directions. One truck, containing British soldiers, including Captain Bartlett, stops in a field, and the POWs are told to get out and stretch their legs. They are then shot dead under the pretense that they were trying to escape. All in all, 50 escapees are murdered, while Hendley and 10 others are returned back to the camp. Von Luger is relieved of command of the camp by SS Lieutenant Steinach for failing to prevent the escape attempt. Only 3 POWs make it to safety. Danny and Willie steal a rowboat and proceed downriver to the Baltic coast. There, they sneak aboard a Swedish merchant ship. Elsewhere, Sedgwick, who escaped on a stolen bicycle, is guided by 2 French resistance soldiers into Spain. The movie ends as Hiltz is returned to the camp alone in handcuffs and taken back to the cooler. The guard locks him in his cell and walks away, but momentarily pauses when he hears the familiar sound of Hiltz bouncing his baseball against a cell wall.